So I think let's just start off with what a cold chain is. So basically a cold chain is a temperature controlled supply chain. What that means is it extends from production up until consumption, so farm to fork. So if we understand what the significance of this, we have to understand what products have to move through a cold chain. And the products that would need to move through a cold chain are agricultural products, such as fruit and veg, and then products such as frozen products or chilled products, which includes meat, fish, poultry. And then we start to look at other products like pharmaceuticals, and then some chemicals such as paint that needs to be in a temperature-controlled environment. So really the significance, if you understand these industries are obviously massive. They account for lots of jobs, and a lot of money is spent in these industries. So really, having a well-functioning cold chain is critical to ultimately preserving the quality of these products. So if we look at what the value in the cold chain is, if we look at products, it's about extending the shelf life of products and maintaining the quality. It's about reducing waste, which ultimately can lead to environmental impact. And really, it's about having a happy customer at the end that's getting a product at the quality that it was intended. If we look at the fact that growers produce about enough food to feed about 10 billion people worldwide, and then we still have almost 1 billion people that are starving, we start to ask the question, why? Where does the problem sit? And ultimately, the problem is not in food production, but is in food distribution. And that's where the waste happens. About a third of food that's produced never ends up on a kitchen table. And therein lies the opportunity. So if we look at it, the FMCG industry, that's what we need to understand. How do we prevent waste as one aspect? But I think secondly is to understand where the opportunities to also understand how we deliver a quality product to the end consumer. The FMCG industry is a hugely competitive industry, and more so when you look at South Africa as it stands now, there's a huge market contraction. Retail volumes are on a decline, so there's an ever increase for quality at an affordable or cost-effective price, and really having a focus on the efficiencies and the quality of your cold chain will ultimately lead to customer satisfaction, which leads to brand loyalty, which obviously drives demand. Given my background as a medical doctor, the healthcare industry is something that I'm quite passionate about. So if we look at just understand what's happened in South Africa in terms of legislation. Recently, new legislation has been passed which governs the distribution and storage of pharmaceutical products. And the legislation is strictly around having pharmaceutical products, for one, stored in a temperature-controlled environment and then distributed in a temperature-controlled environment. Now, from a Ballable logistics perspective, we see this as a huge opportunity to play in this space. As pharmaceutical companies scramble to conform to the current requirements, therein lies the opportunity to be able to meet this demand. That will be a huge focus going forward in terms of how do we build the expertise and how do we build the infrastructure to be able to deliver on this demand. But if I go back, so if we go back to your question, what is the economic significance? I think we just need to, from a high level, break this up. What happens in the healthcare industry? Huge amounts of money is invested into producing products that ultimately treat or prevent disease. And if we consider just one product, which is a vaccine, we need to understand that roughly about 25% of vaccines that are produced are wasted. And you can understand the cost impact. And why is it wasted? It's because these products can't ultimately be carried in a uninterrupted cold chain. If you consider a cross-border distribution of vaccines specifically, foreign countries are investing huge amounts or donating huge amounts of money in terms of aid through vaccines to prevent disease. And these products are carried cross-border, but within the Southern African region, you have countries that don't have the infrastructure to be able to carry cold chain products. And ultimately, the value of these products are lost. So while these products are meant to mitigate disease, what actually happens is that you actually end up doing more harm by supplying a product that is not at optimal efficacy and which could lead to further illness and disease. So really, if we start to understand what's the economic significance of the cold chain, we have to just understand how much wasted cost and risk sits in not being able to carry these products effectively. An investment in a proper cold chain facility amounts to huge amounts of money. And then ultimately being able to ensure that your standards are being met and the quality is being met needs more investment. The problem is a lot of these countries or underdeveloped countries don't have the funds to be able to invest in this type of supply chain, which then affects the quality of products that are being imported or produced in that country. So really, that's the challenge for us, is to ensure that there's an uninterrupted chain that maintains the quality of products right throughout, from production till end consumption. For one, I think the ever increasing demand from customers in terms of quality, but secondly, to understand how we get visibility, and really what you want real-time visibility so that you can proactively manage things that may happen along the route or in warehouses. So customers need to have that peace of mind that their product is maintained at the right temperature throughout the process. So there's been a lot of work in it, and it's ever evolving, from data loggers to RFID tags to customers themselves producing packaging that maintains the temperature. So really, I think the opportunity and I think the challenge is for logistics providers to understand how are we going to leverage this technology to provide value to customers. Because the risk is that if the customer then has to go out and find his own solution, he would then seek to do things in-house. So really, it's us and specifically Valuable Logistics looking at the opportunities to find the right technology to create value for customers. So I think to bring you practically into our world, as Valuable Logistics, we specialize in the long-haul distribution of perishable products. Now, historically, what used to happen is that you have a refrigerated trailer, which has a refrigeration unit on it, which needs to be set by a driver in terms of what temperature is required to carry that product. What we're able to do now, with the advent of technology, is that within our control room, we're able to remotely set the temperature of the product and then live monitor that temperature throughout the trip. So I think that's really one small example of how technology has become such an enabler